ik maar nif nok schnik not niet knam sniplop doek niet. Yes, I'm speaking in alien tongue because news is that aliens are patrolling various locations around the world. Apparently this really is the end game, securitization of all bad debt and sell it to aliens from outer space. Stacy.
Max, you have been saying that for years, that there's so much debt here that who can possibly back this? We're going to have to go intergalactic, seeking somebody else to take on and collateralize this debt. So in the past week or two, we've seen a CIA agent who has come out and said that he claims to have seen some aliens at what is known as Area 51. But then I saw in the UK the UFO files. Aliens might come here for holidays. Government officials believe aliens may visit Earth and suggest harnessing UFO technology for UK defenses, files say. Papers show the existence of a flying saucer working party within government during 1950 to 52. And then in 1995, the MOD papers show that one agent reported alien craft sightings need to be established as a matter of priority, adding there did not appear to be hostile intent.
Well, you know, it was just a few months ago that Paul Krugman at the New York Times, remember, he wrote that story saying that the government should proclaim that we're being attacked by aliens and to trigger 1 or 2 or 3 trillion worth of government spending as a way to get the economy jump-started by adding another 3 or 4 trillion to the debt of the economy. So aliens are factoring large in this 21st century economic model. There is no way for the economic activity of planet Earth to cover the debt. As a matter of fact, if you were to burn every last barrel of oil left, it would not generate enough global output and extrapolating through the commensurate taxes to pay the debt. The debt is unpayable. Even if we burn every barrel of oil in the world, there's not enough activity to pay the debt.
So I thought maybe if I look out there and see up above us what other dangers with possible hostile intent could be there. And lo and behold, I found hundreds of trillions of dollars of derivatives. Tweet from the New York Post. CEO Jamie Dimon shaken to the core after JP Morgan trade loss grows to $4.4 billion, doubling original estimate. Jamie Dimon shaken to the core.
Yeah, shaken, not stirred. And I'll have another. Yeah, he's really, he should be kidnapped by aliens and probed.
Well, obviously I'm talking about last week when Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan announced that their first quarter losses were actually greater than what they had claimed previously. So JP Morgan admits that CIO Group consistently mismarked hundreds of billions in CDS in an effort to artificially boost profits. So according to their statement, the firm has recently discovered information that raises questions about the integrity of the trader marks and suggests that certain individuals may have been seeking to avoid showing the full amount of the losses in the portfolio during the first quarter.
Yeah, well, Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan, you know, they should create like a fraudatron. You know, like the CERN scientists have that particle accelerator and they can split subatomic particles. They need to create a fraudatron, place it on the moon, circulate lunar dollars that are collateralized by fraud, and then try to get the fraudatron going so fast, gets high-frequency trading so fast to actually go faster than the speed of light, go backwards in time, and correct their books back in 1980 or 85, the last time they actually had books at JP Morgan that weren't cooked. Or have aliens kidnap Jamie Dimon and probe him.
Is that your solution for everything?
Well, there's more debt than can ever be paid back. There's no economic output scenario that would pay back the debt. The debt is growing as a cancer. You know, I mean, cancer justifies itself, doesn't it? Cancer, if you asked cancer whether or not it was cancer, it would say, no, I'm doing God's work. You know, if you ask rust, are you an essential systemic ingredient of this car? And the rust would say, yes, I'm rust. I keep this car together. I'm what makes this car. You can't ask Jamie Dimon to legitimize Jamie Dimon, just like you can't ask cancer to whether or not it's legitimate inside the body of a healthy individual. He's a parasite. Parasites think that they are you know, doing God's work, and some of them do God's work, but not to the extent where you've got a parasite like Jamie Dimon who's swallowing the entire global economy whole with 90 trillion in derivatives. That's bigger than the entire GDP of the entire globe.
Maybe Jamie Dimon is trying to send us a signal. He's shaken to the core. He is being probed, and some alien is
Meet Mark Nick Nuke. I'm Jamie Dimon. I'm being probed by aliens. Save me. I'm being taken to the moon for the Frauditron. And you know, they could develop like a Frauditronic beam. You know, beam it down on the balance sheets of Deutsche Bank to try to somehow solve their balance sheet issues. Of course, Deutsche Bank is insolvent, Societe Generale, BNP. That if you were to freeze in time and look at their balance sheet on any given day, you'd find they have absolutely no collateral. J.P. Morgan's balance sheet has no collateral. It's a $160 billion goose egg. There's nothing there. It's all smoke and mirrors. Jamie Dimon is being probed by aliens, trying to sell his company's debt to some marauding spaceship floating around planet Earth. And this guy here, you just described it, sees the aliens over Area 51. Why don't they just take Area 51 public on NASDAQ? They could probably take it public for more than Facebook, an equally fallacious, nonsensical company. Groupon, a Ponzi scheme that went public for billions. Zynga, a Ponzi scheme that went public for billions. How about Area 51? Take that public, do a leverage buy at JP Morgan, buy Goldman Sachs with the proceeds, and then take yourself to another planet and set up a shop on some parallel universe and bankrupt them. But leave Earth alone.
Okay, well, you know, J.P. Morgan has over 20% of the global derivatives pie, and we don't know if it's 800 trillion, 900 trillion, 1.2 quadrillion, as it was at the peak of the global financial bubble.
Global derivatives cow pie, more like it.
So I want to roll back to 2003 and look at a headline from back then. The 82 trillion pound time bomb. That was $130 trillion, Max. And this was talking about Warren Buffett's infamous letter in which he warned that of the weapons of mass financial destructions that derivatives represented. He called them a time bomb. And he said that contracts involving multiple reference items and distant settlements increase the opportunities for counterparties to use fanciful assumptions about the then very quaint, tiny little pile of derivatives of 130 trillion globally. But obviously, as we see here with J.P. Morgan, what is going on out of London is that, as they said, that there was a trader who was seeking to avoid showing the full amount. So Warren Buffett told you 10 years ago to watch this, that the underlying collateral, there would be incentive for all these bankers to lie about the quality of it as this derivatives bubble grew bigger and bigger following the working group on financial markets established by President Reagan, and started to intervene and save these guys from all their bad bets.
Oh, Warren Buffett, he's being probed by Charlie Munger, isn't he? You know, why don't you put him on Richard Branson's new Space Odyssey plane that goes into outer space, but like tinker with a gyroscope or something, so it just keeps going on the vector to nowhere. We don't need... Leave Earth alone! Warren Buffett, Jamie Dimon, leave us alone!
But the Ministry of Defense in the UK is looking out there for hostile intent, when we can look a little bit closer to home to the atmosphere circling our financial system, where we see back into 2003, from this article, derivatives have played a key role in almost all of the big scandals and disasters of the past decade. From rogue trader Nick Leeson to Enron and long-term capital management, the U.S. hedge fund whose near collapse in 1998 threatened to spark a global crash. These often baffling financial contracts come with a string of names: futures, options, interest rate swaps, credit derivatives. The most basic can be understood by the layman. The more exotic are baffling even to mathematicians and financial experts. So again, these credit derivatives have landed. They landed long ago. This article is from 2003. They knew there was hostile intent behind it. They knew that it was a threat to our society at large, and yet they kept on building more and more, and they kept on allowing more and more financial derivatives with exotic names to land in our financial system.
That's not one of ours.
Confirmed inbound bogey, Angels 11. Werewolf flight, cameras now on. Woo! Man, is he moving? Unidentified aircraft. looking to waste fast. Suggest Air National Guard at Franklin attempt intercept. This is Cowboy Fly.
Cowboy, you are cleared to fire.
You should have activated the cloaking device.
I cannot remember everything.
He's disappeared. He's just disappeared.
Right, and the computers who do the algorithmic trading on the New York Stock Exchange, they also write the articles that appear in Forbes recommending to buy stock in computers, who end up writing the algorithmic programs to go to the New York Stock Exchange that go up in price based on the buy orders, based on reading stories that they themselves wrote. So the capitalization of the computer stocks goes higher, giving them more capital to influence more price movement, thus increasing their wherewithal, their political influence. The ability to buy off politicians in Washington is also a political algorithm generated by computers. Computers, therefore, are building their own parallel civilization, parallel to ours, and you've got Warren Buffett, who's cheerleading the aliens and the computers. You've got Jamie Dimon, who's a cheerleader for the aliens and the computers. Leave us Earthlings alone, you frickin' freaks from outer space. Get on one of Richard Branson's space planes and get the heck out of here. We don't need your stinking kind around no more.
This is the ship's captain. Secure yourself into the form flap. We'll initiate Mentalian surge as soon as we go past the only moon on this planet. No problem. We have successfully passed the moon and are preparing now for Mentalian surge.
Again, this was from 2003, and the article points out that critics argue that the bandwagon is running out of control and that the derivatives business has, in effect, taken control of markets. It's now gone one step beyond that. Not only have they taken control of markets, and we see that, but they've taken control of sovereign nations. They've taken control of entire regions, all of Europe, all of America. They're occupied by derivatives. We have to suspend our sovereignty in order to make whole and to appease these credit derivatives with hostile intent.
Well, you know, we've seen it happen in Cairo. The algorithm has jacked up the price of food. There was a revolution. We saw it happen in Europe. The computers are trashing the bond market, so now they've got new world government in Europe. The computers, artificial intelligence, I think, is taking itself public within our own collective unconscious and manifesting itself in the price action on these exchanges that we believe is happening independent of our own mass psychosis. But in fact, it's happening pari passu with our own inbuilt lemming-like propensity to commit mass suicide. This global economy is Jim Jones writ large. We are all drinking the Kool-Aid laced with cyanide, helping with the help of computer algorithms.
So I've established that we've been occupied by derivatives with a hostile intent. The first nation to surrender to these hostile derivatives is France. France has no problem with sovereignty in Euro crisis response. France is ready to cede sovereignty to its European partners if it helps create greater willingness to share the financial burden of a common currency, European Affairs Minister Bernard Cazeneuve said. We are aware that more solidarity needs more integration, so less sovereignty. The problem of France is not sovereignty. The crisis is very deep. We want to organize the solidarity in order to be strong in front of the markets. So again, in front of the markets, we talked earlier about the derivatives are the markets. They've occupied the markets. But also, when he's ceding sovereignty to Europe for the greater currency, what he's ceding sovereignty, in fact, to is Deutsche Bank, to BNP Paribas, to Crédit Agricole, and Credit Lyonnais, their derivatives books, not to these individual nations.
Yeah, when was the last time France didn't surrender? All right, Stacey Herbert, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max.
don't go away. More are coming your way.